Okay, we're starting. Okay.
All right. I call to order the committee of the whole meeting at 6:30 p.m. in the boardroom of Oak Park and River Forest High School. Please call the roll.
Mr. Grosnick,
Here.
Dr. McGill,
Here.
Mr. Arkin, Mr. Burns, Dr. Livingston.
Here.
Mr. Brandhurst.
Here.
Ms. Williams-Lee.
Here. I move to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district and independent contractors and specific volunteers, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. However, a meeting to consider an increase in compensation to a specific employee of a public body that is subject to the Local Government Wage Increase Transparency Act may not be closed and shall be open to the public and posted and held in accordance with this act. Collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary, schedules for one or more classes of employees, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when a public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. May I have a second? Okay, please call the roll.
Dr. McGill,
Here.
Mr. Arkin, Mr. Burns. Mr. Briscoe.
Here.
Yes.
Mr. Brandhurst.
Yes.
Dr. Livingston.
Yes.
Ms. Williams-Lee.
Yes.
I'm paying attention.
And you are here too.
Yeah, I'm here and present and I'm ready for all those sessions.
Okay, we are going to reconvene open session. Welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening. And do we have any public comments?
We have none.
Okay, and we'll go to item 4, approval of minutes. I move to approve the October 9th, 2025 committee of the whole minutes as presented. Are there any corrections or adjustments that need to be made? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. I'm going to make a quick shift to the agenda, and we are going to move up item 7A under policy, the naming recognition. We'll do that first, and then we'll move back to our regular agenda. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Johnson.
Okay, thank you. Heidi Williams here from the Imagine Foundation, and we are thrilled to see you here not only today, but I know we're going to see you in 2 weeks as well. We have now, I believe, our 5th naming recognition opportunity. We had 1 last school year, 3 earlier this school year, and this is our 5th. This is a naming recognition request for the board to consider in name of the Armstrong family. There is a $100,000 gift that has been pledged to name a little theater in this family's honor. For more detailed information about the Armstrong family, you can see it in the board report, but I just want to highlight a few things. First, Edwin Armstrong was an OPRF alum, class of 1938. He was a Marine Corps veteran in World War II, and he served as a member and president of the Oak Park Elementary School Board and the OPRF Booster Club during his time. Doug and Betsy Armstrong are currently Oak Park residents with 2 grown children. But they're his children. Doug Armstrong is the retired chief operating officer at West Mineral Partners. And he remembers fondly his experiences in the performing arts, particularly at OPRF, including the productions that were presented in the Little Theater. Betsy Anderson Armstrong authored the book, The Mother of All Decisions, served as the former executive director of Girls on the Run in Chicago. Doug and Betsy are the donors, and they are really enthusiastic about this opportunity. So we're excited to bring this forward for your review. And as true to our process in the past, this opportunity has been vetted and supported and organized, of course, by the foundation. And then it was really actually late last spring that our committee here within the building first reviewed this and approved it. But because at that point, the Little Theater was not originally part of the list, we wanted to get the recognition guide. And at that point last spring, we decided to just bring those 3 together at the time. And so now we're getting this 4th one caught up with the others that we had. So we're excited to support this recognition. And it's another reminder for this type of recognition, this is for a 10-year period. Okay. So I'll open it up there for questions unless I missed anything.
And I think we just neglected to put it in there. Their 2 children are also grads of OPRF, 2020, I think, and 2022. So it's 3 generations.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Graham?
I have just a quick clarifier. It's 100K to have the honor for 10 years. So that means 100K per year for a total of $1 million.
No. That would be great. No, the required contribution is 100,000, and like many of our donors, they have a multi-year gift agreement over 5 years. So the 10-year period is just part of the naming agreement. Most of the naming recognitions are 10 years, and there's a handful that are 12 or 15 when they get up to the much higher levels.
Okay, and then the funds end up going into the general project 2 contributory funds, even though project 2 won't actually touch the Little Theater.
Correct. All of those donations are go towards the reimbursements of project 2.
And thank you to the Armstrong.
Yeah, just wanted to repeat what Grant said. I huge gratitude to the Armstrong family and to the other donors previous in the year. This generosity is just overwhelming. So thank you. And thank you to you as well, Heidi, you and the foundation for working. So you're doing great work. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Heidi, has been said, thank you so much.
My pleasure. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. All right. Sounds good.
Now we will move back into our agenda. We'll go to item 7, instruction and the new state benchmarks. Dr. Esther, joining us.
Yeah, while Dr. Hester comes up here, I'll just quickly point out that this is the first of 2 instructional items we have on the docket tonight. This one is specific to the new state benchmarks that are found in the state report card. That was the one little introductory thing. So I turned it over to Dr. Hester. In 2 weeks, we will be presenting the state report card, including the metrics that go into our summit designation during our regular board discussion item. Before we do that, however, we try to make a lot of sense to go over these new benchmarks, since this is completely different than what we have dealt with in previous years as a state. Most recently from the SAT to the ACT, and it's worthy of explanation. So with that said, Dr. Hester, it's all yours.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm gonna begin tonight and hopefully not repeat what Dr. Johnson just said, but again, it is a school report card season in Illinois. And the whole point of this presentation is to prepare us and give us background information for November 20th. So with that, we're gonna move forward. So the state of Illinois adopted these new benchmarks in August of 2025. And the state has been sharing with everybody that these are right-sized state benchmarks. And the reason that they've been calling them right-sized is that in the past, we have had very different performance levels across elementary, middle school grades, and high school grades. The state of Illinois has historically set benchmarks higher than those recommended by, if we want to talk specifically about high school, by the College Board when we had SAT and even when we had ACT prior. And so with this new effort, their goal was to align the benchmarks, align the performance levels across all of the grade levels, and then to really, first of all, paint the state of Illinois in a better picture to the rest of the United States. Because our benchmarks were higher, our performance was always reported to be lower than other states were. And additionally, they did an extensive look at the profile of high school students, which I'll share. And they determined that there were students that our benchmarks were missing. Students that were career bound, that were college bound, and our reporting system was telling their parents and telling our communities that they were not proficient and not performing on level. So let's take a look at 2 of those students. I believe these are graduates from the class of 2024. And they are real students from the state of Illinois. The student on the left is from Naperville North High School, and the student on the right was from Liberty High School. And the state has shared many different profiles of students. Well, when you look across those profiles, you see high GPAs, you see coursework of these students that is very rigorous. You see a student who obviously was involved in CTE programming and has achieved industry credentials. And you see what we ask all high school students to do is get involved in athletics, get involved in activities. And then you also see, according to the College Board, 2 students who would have met SAT benchmarks in both ELA and math. But because our state set those benchmarks at 540 for both ELA and math, neither of those students met the academic indicator. But those students, one of them is currently at the University of Missouri and another one is at their local community college. So these are two students, and there were many in Illinois' profile when they looked at the students who have done early college work. They're actively involved, yet in ISB system, were not found to be proficient. So let's dig into those performance levels. So on the screen at the top, you have the previous misaligned levels. And you can see from elementary, the IAR, and then all students at all grades take not at all grades, but at the specific grade levels, take the Illinois Science Assessment, and then at high school, the SAT. So we see different labels for performance levels, and then different numbers of performance levels. Moving forward with the new unified levels, all of the assessments have 4 performance levels, and then the naming convention is the same and changes for us. So we're very used to at the high school level talking about exceeding expectations or meeting expectations. And the new language is above proficient, proficient, approaching proficient, and below proficient. So we're all gonna have to get used to that as we move forward. We move from performance levels to talking about benchmarks. So I thought it would be useful if we first looked at ACT's college and career readiness benchmarks before we take a look at the new benchmarks from ISB. So I'm sure if you've had a student in high school or a student who's in college, you're really familiar with these benchmarks. I know our students are, and what they mean. And according to the College Board, a student who achieves these benchmarks has a 50% chance of achieving a B or higher in an entry level college course, and a 75% to 80 or 80% to 75% chance of earning a C or higher in an entry level college course. So in looking at these benchmarks and looking at the past, ISB hosted statewide listening tours. I know the college organizations have been actively involved over many years, advocating that ISB change their benchmarks. They sought feedback from student leaders, from post-secondary voices and community members. They engaged over 100 educators and content specialists to actually create the new performance descriptors, which those are detailed documents that ISB has. They recruited 147 teachers to actually take assessment items and use their experience to think about where students would fall on those items. And then, of course, they hired assessment and metrics experts to create the new benchmark levels. So for the big reveal, here are the actual benchmark levels that exist within those performance levels. So moving from, the first screen has the pre-ACT 8-9 and the pre-AC 10. We'll go over ACT in a minute. In that, I guess, pink to red column is the actual ACT benchmark. And ACT tests in the subtests, math, science, English, and reading. ACT does not have an ELA test. Then ISB, you see in the middle, the ISB proficient benchmark. And then on the far column to the right is the ISB above proficient benchmark. So in all cases, the proficient benchmark is below the ACT benchmark, and the above proficient benchmark is above that ACT benchmark. So you see us having a wider range to look at proficient, and then thinking about what that above benchmark score means. For ISB to calculate the ELA, since ACT does not have that test, it is the average of the English and the reading on the pre-ACT 8-9 and the ACT 10. So moving forward to the ACT, you see again the same chart and the same system. And in this case, that ELA benchmark is calculated with the English, the reading, and the weighted writing. So just for the students in the audience and everyone else, that writing piece does go into account for our state assessment. So just for us in moving forward and thinking about what we do with this information and how we want to apply this here at OPRF. The first thing is that the new system does broaden our scope, it widens our lens. And it makes us think more inclusively about all of the students and the profiles of students that we should be considering as proficient. It helps us think about how we communicate to our parents what proficiency is and what success is. So it informs our total school community also about our school level accountability system. And helps us communicate how those academic indicators play into the overall school report card. But one of the things we really realize is that the ACT benchmarks or an SAT benchmark in the past have real currency for kids. And even though there are many schools that still don't require students to submit their college entrance exam scores, it's very likely that as they get into placement conversations with the university, and definitely when they want to enter the merit scholarships, so those initial award dollars that a school gives, or even as they start to apply for other scholarships, that we want to help our students pay attention to those national benchmarks that everyone follows and pays attention to. So those are the new proficiency levels and the benchmarks. And you'll see how those play out as we discuss the school report card in the following board meeting. So are there any questions?
So moving forward, ISB's proficiency will always be below the ACT benchmark. The proficiency will to be acceptable calculation, their understanding of the subject, of course. Right? But the ACT benchmark is, the 80% of getting a C or better in entry level, like college course in that subject. Proficiency, so why is proficiency below that? Because I would say that getting a C or better that would be the argument of as proficient in that area.
It's a great question, and it's one that I think many educators, when the benchmarks came out, one of the things they asked, ISB's rationale for that is the profile of students who fall below that ACT benchmark or the former SAT, but who are still achieving great post-secondary goals. And so they're capturing those students in that profile. And again, for us, we're going to pay a lot of attention to the ACT benchmarks. Because for us, that is very important in helping our kids be recognized by colleges and be successful. So if you think about in the profiles that they've shared, the students are going to a wide range of colleges or a wide range of experiences. So it helps us focus on the multiple pathways that students can take that attribute to success in their immediate world right after us, whether that's college or career or what comes after college. But that's really it's giving us a range, and to me it gives us a target right in the middle of that range.
Any other questions? Now we'll move on to AI practices.
Did you want that?
Can we start with the plan document?
Sure.
So the first place we're gonna go to is that plan document and the AI guidance document in that plan.
So this one?
Yes, and then you can, Lisa, if you want to, click on that AI guidance document. And then we're gonna move around, so.
Okay.
All right.
Alright.
So someone that I worked with once told me that communication comes in a bite, snack, and a meal. And so I would say that this larger guidance document is definitely the meal. So depending on how hungry we are this evening, we can do a deep dive into this document, or we can really just focus on what I would consider a snack. And with that, I'd like to just pull your attention to certain items in this document. And then we'll look at some of the other pieces. So first and foremost, like other districts, like probably many corporations and businesses, you know, everybody's trying to figure out what to do with AI. And for us at OPRS, the most important thing is that this overall document really highlights that we plan to embrace AI because of its presence in our world today and in our students' lives and in employers' lives. And while embracing it, we also know that we really have to consider all the risks. And that means that student data and privacy and responsible use of AI has to come right along with any innovation or creation of AI. And I think that most of this guidance document highlights that. The scope of the guidance document is all of our staff, but I'm sure you've noticed as you've read it that it really pulls our attention into the classroom, mostly with students and teachers. In highlighting the philosophy pieces and the beliefs, the four main beliefs that you see highlighted on the document, and those are on pages 1 and 2. They really match with you can find elements of those in our vision, our mission, and our beliefs and values. And this initial part of the document was developed with an AI committee, a representative committee here last year. And then from there, the Department of Student Learning and then our instructional technology staff really took these pieces to make them into some tangible items that we can use in the classroom. So the next place that I'll draw your attention to is the guiding principles for AI use. And that is on page 2, and that is those 7 principles of purpose, compliance, knowledge, balance, integrity, agency, and evaluation. And so you can think of those 7 principles as providing us with direction. And so whenever we think of AI, it's making sure that we're keeping those 7 principles in play. And then as we move to, which then will start to guide very useful pieces of the document, is we have responsible use for our students, which we've turned into an infographic that will be in all classrooms. And then we also have responsible use for teachers. And in both this guidance document and that infographic, it really clearly states what to do and then basically the prohibited use. And then one of the pieces that would also show up in classrooms is the levels of AI use. And that is that color-coded chart, which is on page 6. So if you can imagine, this governs communication in the classroom. And I could also communicate work-based, but it's really for the classroom. And that moves from the level 1 of being no use of AI, the whole way to level 5, which is AI exploration. And so much of this guidance has come from Teach AI and other resources. But I would say out of this large document, those are are the big chunks, and then, of course, that last piece is data privacy. And the data privacy we take very seriously. And I can go over each of those pieces when we go back to the plan. So that's the large scope document. What I'd like to do is just quickly walk you through the policies and the other pieces, but before I do that, do you have any questions about the governance document?
Yes, I just have one note of potential concern with how, so I feel just anecdotally that AI has become, very purposefully targeting the, trying to appear like a proxy for a sentient being that can, be there with you and give, like the ads that you're seeing now are very much like, you got this, bro, you can do this, this very, so I get a little concerned when I think when I see the line that says think of AI as your personal tutor. I think that I think a personal tutor brings a subjective human component that is essential to tutoring. So I'm not comfortable just going through this with that language, I guess, and beginning to adopt that perspective of looking at AI as a personal tutor. I don't think I'm not comfortable with that personally.
They might have missed it. Is there a policy here as far as directing teachers to have some uniformity in the way they use AI? Teacher will full use of AI like this, that if I had a teacher, let's say, is that considered, is that direction going to be given to instructors?
There's no policy on that. Our policy guides acceptable use, responsible use, but we don't have policy that guides uniformity across courses. Our teacher collaborative teams meet every Wednesday, and of course, not every subject meets every Wednesday, but there's a lot of curriculum planning and discussion that goes on there. And I can't really speak to whether they discuss how and when they're using AI as a team. Their goal is more about what students need to know and be able to do. And then their goal, a lot of times they are forming common tasks or they're developing assessments. So that's more of the work that goes on. Now, we do know and have data from specific tools that give us data of how many users we have, whether they're using it to develop assessment and those types of things.
So my concern is, and it's perhaps maybe something just for us to keep in mind. Currently, you're going to have some variability in the amount of rigor between different instructors, right? In a course. But AI has the ability to greatly amplify that, right? The most simplified use of AI is right to kind of busy work or information gathering, right? Which can cut down time on coursework significantly, as it does in the business field for data processing, right? So I see the potential for a larger degree of differentiation in the amount of rigor in the same course between two different instructors, right? One allows me to use AI on all of my courses, then even though the same course, right? Getting this teacher will be, it might be a very burdensome class, right? Whereas getting a different teacher would make that class much more valuable and easier. Even though, right now we're somewhat controlled. Yes,
I think this seems very, seems like you're taking a very practical approach to this. It's not a head in the sand approach, really being proactive, getting your arms around it, both how you're training the staff and then how you're transparently expecting students to use or not use AI. Is there anything in the AI plan that would justify codification as an official policy? Because the policy references here point to some existing things around just generically technology devices and so forth. But is this a large and important development that actual board policy needs to be developed around it?
So the state has a committee working on this. Their work is scheduled to be done in December, at least and I believe that's on track. And that is to actually give school districts guidance on a specific AI policy. So right now, obviously, we have a paragraph that's in that 6:235. But, and the conversation has been for us to pause and wait until some guidance comes around that. And we know it could be ever changing, like once we write a policy, as this world evolves, we could expect a lot of changes.
Well, to that point, then, I would expect our teammates on the policy committee might end up even seeing something out of press that a model policy out of press probably.
That's what we're hoping for.
All right, thank you.
And you'll notice too that policy 7:345. That policy does not have specific mention of AI, but as IASB, recommends, it's that we have a strong policy on protecting student data and privacy. So that's why that one shows up here as well. The other things, just to mention too, are that we are in compliance with FERPA, COPA, HIPAA, SOPA, and other policies. We have 4 applications that are specifically AI applications. And those are ones that students can be in, and then we have other tools, and it continues that we continue to get AI in our tools.
Just a minor editorial comment. This goes back to my time at D97 when we were first rolling out the one-to-one device program. And it was pointed out that the heavier lift is probably not in helping the students, and more in helping the staff. And to the point Josh was making, wild variability and good luck with that.
I think we all need a lot of help in this one. Like, I point well made, and it is true. But I also think that even for students to navigate this world right now is very challenging.
How would just looking at, the prohibited use of AI tools section, how would we, currently enforce the regulation of students over relying on AI? What does that look like?
It's all within the classroom and the conversations with the teachers and the students in terms of the word you used was enforce, so I'll come back to that. But teachers communicate to students the degree to which are able to use the tools. And then in terms of enforcement, we have had issues where it was clearly communicated, especially on summative assessments and, final exams, that AI is prohibited, that it cannot be used. And we have had, situations where we use our procedures for academic integrity and dishonesty. And so it moves from teacher to division head. And of course, there's due process all along the way with hearing both sides of the story. It is very difficult. There are no AI detectors out there that work. So it's really in building a relationship with the student, having a trusting understanding, really communicating with the parents, and trying to make the best decision.
I just wanted to talk about, yesterday morning, me and the other student delegates were having like a really, insightful conversation about AI, and I just wanted to like touch on some of the main topics we talked about. And one of those like main topics was actually right now how teachers are using AI. Because I wouldn't say right now, and I would say like for most of us, I don't think there's many classes where teachers are encouraging students to really use AI, but there are cases in which teachers are like leaving grading assignments with AI, where it's to the point where it's pretty obvious, like leaving feedback with AI. And we all kind of agree that we don't find that very helpful. We don't, and they don't really like address it as an issue. And so that also leads me to, I think, one thing that I find really helpful will be maybe some type of like AI education in classes, because this year in my AP Lit class, we had like, the first couple of days of school, we read like articles from the New York Times and different articles addressing AI, and we had a discussion about it in class. And I found that really helpful to understand everyone's perspective, because I do agree it can be a very useful tool in certain settings and in certain like circumstances. But it really helps like have a conversation, talk about it, and I think to be more educated, it will help students like deter from necessarily using it in ways that would be harmful in the future. But I also wanted to give like a quick example of like using AI in a positive way. Last year in my AP Spanish class, actually, at the end of the year, my teacher kind of discovered AI, like I said, but he like ended up like grading a couple of like quick assignments. We did like a mock AP test, and it isn't something you could grade in a short period of time because it's like an essay, like speaking, email. So he graded it with AI to give us an idea of where. So I think that's an example of how.
Aside from that example, how do you know, I don't doubt it, but how do you know that teachers are using AI for grading? Is the critiques don't sound like their authentic voice? Is it something to that effect? I mean,
Well, I know Gayatri specifically mentioned that one of her teachers is kind of actually open about using Magic School Bus AI specifically to grade like, I think it's essays, I don't know if it's like all assignments, but it's just like essays where he kind of like was able to manipulate it to like sound like him a little bit, but it's like you could just kind of tell in the way it's formed. I think like most of us as students can kind of like tell when it's AI, at least a little bit. And then also there's also circumstances where you could like tell teachers use even just like ChatGPT or something to create an assignment, like a busy work assignment, just by like the way it's used.
So one of the platforms that Olive was referring to is Magic School, and it produces more analytics than you could possibly imagine. We have 266 total users in that tool, and that is a tool where teachers and staff can use it, and it has many, many features and tools. And for students to use it, they actually have to push it out or launch specific tools to the students to use it. And out of that 266 total users, we have 80 active users, which means they're in it in a regular basis. And that tool can be used for teachers to do anything from creating instructional materials, adapting instructional materials, giving feedback, generating assessments. There are all kinds of communication tools that help them write parent letters. It has a chatbot, just like other chat tools that are out there. It has a student support tool, and it can also help with workflows. And it has a student engagement, which is things like gamification. So you can take your content that you've uploaded and then create games, activities or quizzes. And then there is writing feedback, and there are text generators too, so that you can complete and write a text. Those are all within our protected environment. We prefer that our teachers use this tool over the other tools, unless it's Notebook LM or if it's Gemini. And then the students have used it for chatbot, gamification, quiz me, create a skit, song generator. They've also used the learning supports, which the text translator is in there, so that's really nice that translation tools are built in. They can use it for feedback, so soliciting feedback for themselves, actually, and that's if the teacher pushes that out. And then the studying is to create study guides, flashcards, different things to help them for assessments.
So is that a platform where the teacher is able to enable just certain aspects of it depending on that particular assignment?
Yeah, they're literally launching a tool, so it has many tools for kids. And they can they can use it just to plan and prepare their lesson, or they can literally launch something to the students. Our data shows that it's being used more in the back end of teachers to plan, create things and prepare. And use less to push certain features or tools out. We've had quite a bit of that professional learning that you see on the professional learning plan, the different sessions last year and this year have been within Magic School. And it's requested as well as some of the other tools we have.
What about the Google Suite? So when I open, a Google Doc at home, the first thing it asks me is, do I want to use AI? As soon as I start typing, it's asking me, do you want I want AI to help me drop this file? Is it the same experience for our students, or is that turned off in Google Docs and Google Sheets and Google Suite?
I know it's on for us, like we have AI within Google, do you all see? I don't think they do. Yeah, they, but Canva, and most of you know, Canva is a tool that has AI embedded directly in it. It Puzzle does, Formative, which is an assessment platform. Usually I think more on the teacher aspect. And some of the video tools now have AI. Most of those are primarily for teachers right now and not available to the students. You can imagine for our ed tech team and our instructional technology team, these things are popping up. And they're, following that and controlling that environment on a regular basis.
So it sounds like the tools that are student facing, the student has to affirmatively choose to enable AI to use, or are there exceptions to that?
We will get more information, I will get more information. In many cases, it's there for adults. And then it's more or less turning it on systematically for students. Or, an app that we're already using, letting us know that, hey, there's AI embedded now.
In Magic School, so part of AI literacy is being skilled in using LLMs and in asking the same questions to multiple LLMs, being able to compare the answers, getting a feel for which are good for different kinds of tasks. And that I think, are we able to do that inside Magic School? Are we able to compare different LLM environments? So that seems like a big piece of.
Yeah, I would say as staff, as teachers, obviously, we're able to do that, to compare. But I'm just looking at, like, our students have probably 2 tools to compare within if they're using them right now. So it's not the same, like if somebody's putting in Claude, ChatGPT, and then you're throwing in Gemini, they don't have access to all of those tools here at school, protected in their school accounts.
And I think that's a big gap, but it's really problematic, right? Because you don't want to just throw open the doors to Grok and ChatGPT and everything else. So I'm just curious, that seems like a learning technology investigation issue? Like, is there a way to create a safe environment where we can help students acquire that skill? That's a really crucial skill, but also do it in a safe way. And while we're on AI literacy, so that's the stated goal of this, right?
Right.
How are we measuring that, and how are we making sure that every single student who graduates has at least some baseline level of AI literacy? And I'm kind of thinking in terms of like the financial literacy or civics that, I know that they're required courses, but at least there's a baseline curriculum that we know that every single graduate has been through. Are you anticipating an equivalent for AI, or are we just gonna kind of hope that everyone gets exposed to it?
We're not there yet. And it's, and I read the questions about that, and I think that is well founded, like that we need to really consider what is the systemic learning. Like what we've done now is developed the learning targets for students. And we really have targets that, knowledge that we want all of our staff to hit. And now we have to think about, we know it has to be integrated into the classroom or it's not gonna stick. But we do have the potential through like our digital literacy course or other means to, build the literacy skills systemically, or to have certain core content pieces that go out in different curricular areas. So we really need to work with our staff on that to come up with the answer.
Do you feel like that is this school year task, and that when we revisit this a year from now, that's something that maybe we'll be able to have progress on, or is that a longer term? Like, how are you thinking about that?
I'll be honest, like working with the staff and charting out a plan for staff learning is very doable. And how we're gonna integrate it into the curriculum and what we're gonna do. When I think of everything ahead of us and pulling or not pulling teachers to do the work right now, that's gonna be a challenge to figure out how we get that done. So it's gonna be transparent, honest, we know what we want kids to learn. The challenge is we've really gotta pull a team to figure out how to do it well.
And fair response. I just wanna say, so this policy and this approach, this is, I think, the very first thing that I asked for 2 years ago as a new member of the board. And I am delighted to see this tonight. It is a great start. So I am so thankful to you for getting this to this point. I know a lot of people have worked on this for the last couple of years, but I appreciate your leadership in pulling everything together and getting us to this point. I think it's always one of the hardest things to do, to create a policy from scratch, this first draft, the first version, and it's only going to get better, it's only going to get stronger and more inclusive as we go along. So I thought this was a really great effort. I'm delighted by a lot of what I see here. So I just want to thank you for that.
I really have to extend that thanks to Joe Battaglia and Jen Brakeman, and then that group of that committee. The work was all there. It just had to be organized, and they did a great job of doing it.
That's great. I have one more question, and this really for our families, all of their students. So reading through the guidance, it looks like we're heavily relying on our teachers to bring clarity to AI use on an activity or assignment specific basis, right? We're saying the teacher is going to tell you how you can use AI, if at all, on this assignment. And are teachers ready for that, or do our teachers understand that that is their expectation?
January 6th is where we start to communicate and to really launch that with them. Our professional learning and time with them has been planned out for the rest of the year. We were able to steal some time on the 6th. And then we would have a much more detailed launch and implementation for next school year.
Okay.
Yes.
And are we going to similarly roll this out to students and families? I know parents, especially as they're, looking over their student's shoulder, that's always the question is, how do you use AI in this, or can we check the, your essay against ChatGPT's response? And so I know a lot of families are really curious, what is the policy, what am I allowed to do, what is my student allowed to do? Are we gonna roll this out next school year to families?
We have not talked about how to roll it out to families, but that would be our goal, to develop a plan and roll it out.
And I mean, it's a simple principle, right?
Yeah.
For if you're, and to communicate to parents. There is going to be clarity. Your teacher will have told your student how they're allowed to use AI on this particular assignment. Right? So there's never gonna be a gray area, there's gonna be clarity. Your student has to realize what that is.
Right, and the vision coming out of this work is to use the infographic to clearly communicate what you can and can't do, and how you have to build, the skills you have to build. To use the color-coded levels to be really clear in the classroom about the use of AI. And then obviously to really teach the academic integrity and and then of course, when needed, use the procedures in the handbook.
So admittedly, I'm perhaps the least educated on AI, it still feels like cheating to me. And so I need to get around it. And this is a silly ask, but is it possible to open Magic School to the board? To play around in and just, just because I feel like making myself familiar with what the environment looks like and what people can and can't do within it is perhaps sometimes the best way to figure out how we should guide them. It's hard for me to know the policy, I have no idea what this is, I hear, so yeah, thank you.
We've been creating our board memos using ChatGPT for.
The end of week.
That's a. We can do this, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Is that Jenny, there's other things you want to go through this way too, do you have anything covered?
I think I have them covered, if everybody's looked at the infographic, and then we have learning outcomes, and then we have a professional learning plan that's in there with the timeline. And then you can expect to see long-range professional learning plans coming after that.
Can I make one comment on the learning outcomes?
Yes,
So in the student learning outcomes,
in the infographic.
in the actual text learning outcomes document. Learning outcomes.pdf it's called, yeah. So these are great and I really appreciate your sharing them with us. In section 2 of the student learning outcomes, the bottom bullet is that analyze the big picture impact, which I love, of AI's growing use. So I just wanted to advocate adding environmental impact there as well. I think that's a really important lesson for students. And then I'd also like to see that added to the staff learning outcomes. Because I think those environmental considerations are really important, especially for our next generation, who are going to have to make these decisions about whether they should use AI to make a picture of their dancing dog or whatever. Just understanding the impact of that, I think is valuable. So I would advocate to add those environmental impacts in both sections.
I just want to highlight, when we met with our do you want to highlight that comment as well?
Yeah, that just also came up in our discussion, we were talking about like the impacts it has.
Yeah.
Students are aware, and I think it's good, we need to keep educating, completely agree.
And I was gonna ask, is there anything else that you and your peers talked about, that would be important for Dr. Hester to hear?
I think the other main thing we talked about was having access to AI like on the school's Wi-Fi, like not on our Chromebooks, but when students bring, like I know a lot of students just bring MacBooks and other devices just because it's faster and because school Wi-Fi can be kind of slow sometimes. And also just on your phone, like right now, just on the Wi-Fi, we have like complete access to ChatGPT, like Gemini and Christian, like all AI is just available. Which we are having a discussion about how we don't necessarily think that helpful, because I think one of the things we did touch on is like, you could, in school, you could kind of regulate as much, you could try to regulate as much as you can, but when you're at home, they kind of, you have access to ChatGPT, there's no really way to go around it. So just maybe trying to regulate that at school, but I don't know how possible I do.
I did just have one more question, and that is, and this may be a learning technologies question, and that's suited for tonight, but I'm really curious if we are investigating tutoring platforms, if those exist yet, if we're investigating them, if we are experimenting and testing and so on, where are we in the AI tutoring stage?
We can have a little.
I absolutely want to thank you for bringing this forward and for the discussion. It's something that's really important. And I agree. I think as Graham has said, I think it's a very pragmatic approach. In terms and pretty holistic in terms of how you're looking at this. And it's also evolving because I feel like AI is changing weekly, daily in terms of what's available, how it's being used. And if I think about it from a workplace perspective, it's absolutely integrated into a lot of things that are happening. So if we think about getting our students ready for post-secondary, the Olive mentioned about being educated about it. It's really important to know what it is, how to use it, and how do you extend it in very positive ways, and to the extent possible, how do you kind of help students understand the potential negative impacts and how to manage that. But I believe this is an excellent start. So just a big kudos to you and the team for trying to corral all this together because it is not easy.
I agree, this is a great start. The thing that I keep coming back to that I'm deeply concerned about, just because it is such a dynamic, rapidly changing phenomenon, and it's certainly embedded, or it seems it's in the understanding how AI works. But number one, for students will be able to suggested that we're going to be educating them on the mental health risks of over-reliance on this. But that's a huge concern of mine that once it's there, it's so powerful, and it's so exciting, get so much from it. But I think just really reminding ourselves that we have to always come back to that at the very beginning in a very deliberate, purposeful way, to outline the mental health risks of over-reliance on these powerful tools. And so I just can't underscore that enough, my concern around the mental health component of AI can be so deeply embedded in our world.
Yeah, and that behavioral health component, we can't say enough about it, so thank you for that.
Thank you, judges.
Thank you.
And next up, we continue to finance for student maintenance project grant.
So hard gas is coming up with this one. This item is, at this point, pretty much an annual item that we bring to the board. Helps part of our annual capital improvement projects. So with that said, I'll share with some.
I've been sitting back there trying to figure out a way to tie school maintenance project grant to AI. Should have used AI to do that. I didn't come up with anything. This is an annual item that we bring forward. The state of Illinois annually gives school districts $50,000 to use towards different capital improvements through their school maintenance project grant. We historically have tied that to our summer capital improvement projects. We have, those bids are in and, we are in the, scope review process. Those will be coming forward, next meeting for review and then in December for final approval. We again would like to tie this grant to that project. One of the items on the agenda is replacing the windows on the main entrance side of the building. The cost for that looks like it's going to be just about $520,000. This would offset $50,000 of that.
Any questions? Thank you.
Well, I think it's worth promoting that. I think the window project was something Tom Koski felt strongly about, right, for energy efficient.
It is, we walk by, one of the main, if you've been to a sustainability summit, you know, a lot gets talked about solar and geothermal and what we've done, you know, a heavy geothermal project here. One of the things that often gets said is, you know, some of the biggest impacts we have in sustainability are, things like new windows, new doors, the lighting in the building. So this is a major and much needed replacement project.
Worth emphasizing that and the fact that grant money is gonna be part of it's like icing on the cake.
Thank you. And now we're going to move into policy. We've already had the name recognition, and so we're going to move into the 2025 resolutions committee reports. And for our newer board members at the AAA conference every year, there are resolutions that are put forth by IASB with delegate that sits in to actually cast our votes, and we typically as a board will go through and review what those are and agree on how we would vote at the delegate assembly on these items.
President Williams, before we do that, we have to actually also vote for who will represent the district.
Yes.
To the Board of Conference. And we also need a second year, just need that something that happens to them.
And currently, are there 4 of us going to have 6?
Mr. Arkin is the only one that's not attending.
Well, it's great delegate. I will start by asking, is there anyone who really wants to be the delegate? And today,
We did it last year.
I did it last year.
Okay. So I did it in 2023.
Yeah.
So someone else is gonna get their opportunity.
It might be great to have someone with a little bit more board experience. Handle that this year, I would accept the nomination for 2026.
Kathleen and.
Yeah, but Tim, I can agree with
Yeah. Everyone in agreement? Yeah, and we also need a second, we need a backup. We need an alternate delegate in case, yeah. I think that really what to do. Anyway, thank you for the reminder.
Then you all can get John with me next year.
But that,
Do you want to do it?
no,
No,
I'll be the alternate.
I mean, it really is pretty simple, when you go ahead and listen to.
It's actually quite easy, and when I looked at this, you don't have any controversial things.
No, it really doesn't.
When I was in 2023, there were 5 or 6 controversial issues, plus there was a floor nomination for a new head of the ISB, so it was a little bit of a political kerfuffle there. I think you're gonna get a lot less drama this time, and it's very easy, they're gonna give you a clicker with which.
And so, and as I went through these and our previous materials, I think there's a lot of a lot of kind of updates and changes, but I believe it's the first, at least couple of years I've done it, where I've seen that the board of directors recommends that we adopt everything. There's a big path for that's not for their recommendation, but for the agreement to adopt everything. Yeah. I'll pause for a moment and say, is there anything when you were perusing this prior to the board meeting that you would disagree that we should support, as a school district?
Part of what that makes this not too controversial is that it's ISB people doing some reworking of their constitution, so it's
Yeah.
hard to find much to object to. And then the one substantive issue relates to state fundings for modification of buses and harnesses. As we're a district that actually has the transit exemption. So we can even justify abstaining from the question.
I was gonna suggest that, Graham, but I think we did that in the last year.
We did that
With
before, we did
similar
that last
question,
time.
and we said, hey, you can have a slides on it.
So we are in agreement that we will follow the recommendation, of ISB on everything which is, abstaining for the, bus. Fine now. Can we go all set? Okay, all right,
Make sure you bring your badges with you.
yes,
They will not let you in if you do not.
yeah, please. Yeah.
I did that once.
Thank you, Lisa, for making sure that we. I remember what it is that we do. All right, and now we're going to move on to, board governance. And we have our 2024 goals, which are going to be posted. So thank you all for your responses, and Lisa, thank you for putting this together. And so we'll get these goals, up and out, and then obviously continuing to, make our progress. What we'll put on our agenda for our governance is just a regular check-in, so we'll probably, just the end of the year, but we were looking at about every other month or so, just checking about how we're doing in progress against goals. One of our communication goals includes, being more visible in the community and also, accompanying Dr. Johnson when he has superintendent talks. And there's one with the community accommodations that's coming up next, Monday, actually, Monday, the 10th, it'll be at Pilgrim, Church right across here. So I'm available, I plan to join Dr. Johnson if there's another board member who's available and would like to show up. Please let Lisa know.
What time is it?
Is it 7 p.m., I believe? Or-
Double check, I was gonna say 6:30.
Okay,
Is it 7?
I volunteer.
okay, thanks, Jeff, because it's always good to go, on the agenda, be able, one, to hear not a question from the community, but also to show support from the standpoint of being there.
Dr. Johnson, is that on your calendar? Mr. Gertz and Dr. Ms. Williams, for the calendar invite to the.
Okay, perfect.
Check, please. Yes, 7 p.m.
Okay. So before I post them, you guys want to take a look at it over the weekend, and I can give it to you Monday before I post.
Okay.
There's a little tweaking on my part with the numbering.
Okay.
The document came out, but you guys want to look at it over one more time before I post it, like by Monday at the latest.
And you'll hear from us later by Monday, please. We can go ahead and get these up and get these over. The other piece, that I would, want to raise and want to bring this up, back in May, we, had put together, updated our state school resolution. We're gonna pass around copies around what it is that we did, back at that time. And given just all the things that happened in the community, all the concern, I believe we were pretty solid. The resolution is actually pretty solid. But I would ask if you would just take a look at this and to see if there's anything that you believe might be missing or could strengthen it. As part of approving this, we're to distribute this, and I want to distribute it again, just kind of given where things are. We are getting questions from community members about what is the school doing and what is our process. So I felt we could take what we've updated, make sure it has everything in that we want to include, and then we'll be ready to distribute this further. And if you have more questions, please, just forward that to me. It's done. Yeah, okay. It's already had under governance and future agenda items. Is there anything that anyone wants to? So we'll go with that.
So, at the beginning of the meeting, prior to the meeting, Tony and I were discussing, the auditors normally come and present to CFC. And last year, they also came and presented to the board. Would the board like, again, for our auditors to come and make a presentation to the board in addition to the presentation that would be CFC?
I heard that was helpful, but I hope to do what everybody thinks is necessary. I'm not really feeling a lot of enthusiasm, so I'll take that to be like, okay.
No, I mean, I agree, I think we should see it, I think, but I also don't.
They do a very in-depth dive with CSC. They do a more high-level version for us. And could be good for the full board to hear their findings, which are generally pretty strong in support of our governance and fiscal condition. So that's an upside to them coming here.
You don't have a position, anyone, so, right, so, go ahead.
What is the time until? Trying to remember.
Tony, when would they come around here? I can't remember what the.
Off the top of my head, I believe they came in January last year.
Okay. It's not a long presentation.
And Phyllis. Any others?
I want to thank our students for showing up again. It's great to see you all out there. Second meeting in a row, so thanks for sticking it out. It's a shorter meeting tonight, but.
Wait, there's more, especially the Ambers.
And I want to say, thanks for bringing that up, Jonathan. We met with them Wednesday morning, and there's 5 here. Maybe there were 7 or 8 during that conversation. I'll just reference it, but the depth at which our fabulous students dove into the different topics that we had. Of course, AI that you've heard about, but the levy as well was so impressive. It was so thoughtful. It was so well informed. These are students who are engaged in what's going on in our community and in our school. And I just really thank them for the conversations. I think you've gone after this delegate role incredibly well. So that's off to you.
And we saw that, Greg, at our last meeting when several stayed to the very end of a week. We talked about the tax levy, so.
That's right.
That's great. Well, I, Audrey Williams-Lee, move to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting at 8:44 p.m. And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right. The committee of the whole meeting is adjourned and we will be going into our special meeting. So I call to order the special board meeting at also 8:44 p.m. in the boardroom of Oak Park and River Forest High School. Please call the roll.
Mr. Ramos.
Here.
Mr. Curtis.
Here.
Dr. Livingston.
Here.
Dr. Leo.
Here.
Mr. Brisbane.
Here.
Mr. Arkin.
Here.
And Ms. Williams-Lee.
Here. Ms. Evans, are there any public comments?
No public comments.
Right. I move to approve the following action items. I want approval of the personnel recommendations, including new hires, assignment changes, transfers, leaves of absence, and rescindment of job offers. And a second? Second. Are there any questions or discussions? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Kurtz.
Yes.
Dr. Livingston,
Yes.
Mr. Grissel,
Yes.
Mr. Arkin,
Yes.
Dr. Odell,
Yes.
Mr. Bradford,
Yes.
and Ms. Williams Lee.
Yes. And our second action item, for the Board of Education to, one, approve an estimated levy for 2025 in the amount of $87,073,000, which represents a 4.4% increase over the prior year's extension for cap funds. Two, authorize a public hearing to be held concerning the proposed levy on December 4th, 2025 at 7:30 PM. And three, authorize publication of the enclosed legal notice in the Wednesday Journal at least 7 days, but not more than 14 days prior to the date of the public hearing at the November 6th, 2025 Special Board of Education meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
I have a question. So, at this point, we approve an estimated levy, and then there's the public hearing. And then on December 6th, is that when do we vote again after the public hearing, once we've received any input from the public that may be relevant?
Yes, so just legally, first we have to approve a tentative levy. It is very similar to the budgeting process, that it goes up, it goes on display. We have our public hearing. Because we're having the public hearing, it gives the flexibility then that at the following meeting, when the final is approved, if through discussion, the board determined they wanted to do something different than what was on the tentative, that would be allowed.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I think, last time we spoke about this, there were, myself and I think, Mr. Arkin, felt strong, that we would favor a approach for levy scenario 1 as opposed to scenario 4. So, I think we're moving ahead with the tentative levy scenario 4 proposal. Will other projections be public hearing or it'll certainly be.
So the way the public hearing works is, there's nothing actually presented at that time. It's a hearing that allows the members of the community to come in and be able to be voiced and to be heard by the Board of Education. Then during discussion, it sounds like the two scenarios under consideration are 1 and 4. What we would do is then take the next steps back to the CFC next week, which would be the posting of scenario 4 for the tentative, but preparation of scenarios 1 and 4 for the final board meeting. And then if there's a possibility, not a guarantee, that we get different projections on say new property or something from the assessor's office. At that time, we would update any of those numbers as well.
Great, any questions from your end?
So are we being asked to approve one of the scenarios at this point in time?
What is being asked is to approve the posting of the tentative levy. This is not the final levy. The scenario 4 would be used for the posting of the tentative levy, but there is that opportunity to make that change.
Okay, so this is asking to post as a tentative levy scenario 4.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to make something perfectly clear that I'm going to vote against this. And I'm going to vote against this primarily because of the fact that I do not think that we've taken a deep enough dive on the expense side of our budget. And so that's why I'm going to be a no.
I just have another question. So I'm looking at the 5-year projection levy scenario for top line real estate taxes for 26-27. And that says 88,023,600. And then I'm looking at the resolution, or what we would be asked to approve, and that's 87,073,000. So should those two numbers be the same or not necessarily?
No, there's other considerations that come into that, whether it's timing, and then there's also annually, this is going to be a little bit confusing as well, but there's another form of recapture, quote unquote, that when there's properties that are, say, in appeals that then get valued at a lower rate for this levy, and then when the assessor's office either settle those appeals or they find errors that they've made and then they correct those, the district will receive a check at that time too, for any errors and omissions that were made the prior year.
So,
I can add one other thing to that too, is the tax levy that's being approved is on a calendar year basis. Whereas what you'll see in the financial projection is the fiscal year from July to June. So with this tax levy that's coming up for approval, we will actually see those revenue dollars in calendar year 26. So we'll get approximately half of them in the fiscal year we're in now, and then the other half, or whatever is left over, really comes in the beginning of fiscal year 27.
thank you. I'm just curious, Olive, if you have any, Andrew Johnson mentioned that this was also a topic of discussion at the recent meetings. I'm curious if you have a summary of the student perspective on this topic.
I know the student perspective, I wasn't the one who had like the major opinions, but I know there was like a couple students who agreed with for the was it scenario 4, and then there's also some who more agreed with scenario 4. That was like the main what I saw, yeah.
So they sound just like residents.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ellen.
In discussion, please call the roll. Mr. Arkin?
No.
Mr. Burns?
No.
Dr. Livingston?
Yes.
Dr. Odell?
Yes.
Mr. Grandmas?
Yes.
Mr. Grossman?
Yes.
And Mr. Mosley?
Yes. And 5-2, the motion carries. And that is the end of our action items. So I, Audrey Williams Lee, move to adjourn a special meeting at 8:54 p.m. May I have a second, sir? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Radio opposed, though.
No, I'm delayed.
Thank you all, meeting adjourned.